Welcome everybody. Welcome with the new Rentman webinar. This is the product update webinar where we usually talk about the things that we have been building at Rentman. We look back at everything that we did in the last 3 months. And while we wait a few minutes to get started, we want to start with a Slido. So please join and let me know what's the one piece of equipment that you couldn't live without. All right, so a few minutes before we get started, but please let me know what's the single piece of equipment you couldn't live without. I see a laptop coming in. I think I used to be a sound engineer before, and I think for me it was, of course, it was the headphones, but I couldn't do my work without the headphones. But the things I always regretted the most when I was somewhere and I didn't bring was the Easy Tilt. We had these analog mixing desks, and they were very hard to shift. And when we didn't brought the Easy Tilt, it was terrible. But this is just something from the early days. Coffee machine, yeah, that's amazing. That's Ethernet cable. Yeah, I think nowadays things get very hard without Ethernet cable. Zebra scanners. I see your crew. I think that is for sure the best answer you'll get today, right? Nothing great done alone. Slingshot, AirPods, iPhone, yeah, Rentman. Oh, that's cute. Might be somebody from marketing filled it in. Pocket knife. Yeah, we always have this ambition to become the Leatherman of the AV industry. So I think that's definitely a tool used a lot. Oh, I see Leatherman I also mentioned. Headphones again. More Rentman. Cool. The Netgear RM4250 switches. I think that's quite specific. Normal switches cannot do the job. Media converters. Curious to know more about these switches, but that's maybe something for a different time. Black tape, yeah, for sure. Cool. Concrete block. Okay, I think you're mostly in the tents. MacBook. Yeah, the general stuff. Okay. Wow, 3 minutes in, I think majority of the people are joining or have been joined. We were expecting more than 1,000 people, so it's great to see that everybody is liking these webinars. Let's get started. So the agenda for today, and if you joined before, I'm here for the general improvement and to host a session. The real work is going to be done by Sarah for the crew improvement, and usually Job did the equipment improvement, but as he is expecting a kit like anytime soon, we ask Lode to join us for this part. Luckily for us, the kit isn't there yet, so Job's also here, and he will join us for the Q&A. But as we said, my job is here to tell you more about the general improvement, and we all do it for the main mission to get you be more in control of your business, right? So we want to make sure that you can focus on your business and that the software is not in the way of doing that. So what does it mean for the general improvements? Let's start with the support center. So it's good to know that in Rentman we have a dedicated team of around 4 or 5 people who work solely on documenting our features, right? We think that building features is not enough. We make sure that you know how to use it. Otherwise, we build it for nothing. Good interface is one of it, but sometimes when you go into the deep or when you start something new, we want to make sure that we have everything that we build fully documented. We have updated our support center, and we added a new navigation menu, some new articles. We hope it's easier to navigate across the articles. And if you have more feedback or if you have more things you want to know from us, then we have a form, and that allows you to share your feedback. Once we see a pattern, when we hear things more often, we will use that form to write the next content on. So that's good to know. What else? That support center we integrated in our product. So let me quickly demo that. So when you are in a project, for instance, in the combination stream, you have a help center here right in the top, and it will always give you access to the relevant articles, right? So no matter where in the system you are, it will give you access to the content that's relevant for where you are or what you see on your screen. It has some other stuff, so also you can start a chat with us, you create a support ticket, and for that you don't have to leave the interface. So I think that's a cool adjustment to make your life even easier. We understand it's not only making the software, but we want to provide you with the whole mission. Cool. Third thing I'm going to tell you about is the new e-invoicing update. So across Europe, all kind of business are encouraged to use e-invoicing. New legislations are being rolled out, and as we see that different countries adapt different standards. So, for instance, in France and Spain, we hear a lot about UBL 2.1. We already supported 2.3, but we see certain countries still requiring 2.1. And in Germany, we hear that Zoekwerk is really requested a lot. So one of the things we added these additional standards, and we will keep updating this once we see more standards getting adopted. We will add them to the software. Next to that, we made it easier to actually work with all the new e-invoicing features. So anytime soon, when you send out an invoice, we will automatically add the e-invoice to the email. Cool. That's it. These are the general improvements. And now, when we look at the crew improvements, I want to invite Sarah. Sarah, tell us more about the updates to the crew product.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. So I'm indeed going to tell you a bit more about what we've improved on the crew product in the past few months. But first, let's dive into the Slido again. So we have a question about crew rates. How many do you think that are created within Rentman every month? I see the first answers already coming in. It's still a tie between 70,000 or 1,700 and 3,800. Who's going to make or break the decision, what we're going for? Let's reveal the answer. So indeed, 1,739 are created every month within Rentman. That's great to know that our crew rates are already that much adopted by our customers. And we hope to keep that up, because with the improvements that we made in the past few months, crew rates will be even more useful. And I will tell you a little bit about it in this webinar. So in general, this year, we want to make sure that you have a seamless crew communication with every interaction. And we want to make sure of that in two different topics. So first, we want to make sure that you have centralized crew availability in Rentman. And by that, we also mean knowing when your crew is not going to be there and why they're not going to be there, and making that a bit easier for you. But we also want to make sure that your crew planners have an efficient communication with all the teams, so both internal teams and external teams, about the projects that are going on, also their availability. And we want to focus on the most time-consuming parts of this communication. But what we have done in the previous few months is a big focus on time registration. So I already presented quite some time registration topics for you in the previous webinars, but the last thing that we now improved is time reconciliation, which is basically getting a good overview of what was scheduled for your crew and what time registered was by your crew, and what's the difference between this, and making it in an easy overview to see why that happened and who you should check with what was going on occasion. So we made several improvements to see this in the time registration module itself, but also in the activities module by giving you a status bar there and calculating the difference between the cost and the difference in time as well, to make sure that you don't have to do this in an Excel export. And we made it possible to see it easier in your projects. And for that, I'm going to show it in Rentman for you in a small demo. So I'm going to one of the projects that we have, Fly Fishing with Product. And I will show you the entire flow if you use the crew rates to make sure that you understand what advantages it has to have this in combination with time registration. So if I currently go to the financial step, you see the crew costs are currently all 0. I do have several, or actually 2, crew functions scheduled on this project, but they don't have a cost rate yet. So I'm now going to link that cost rate So for the audio, I'm going to link audio and save it. And then you see in the financials tab, my estimated costs now have updated because those are based on the estimated cost for the function. If I now schedule someone on it, so for audio, I'm going to schedule myself on it, and I will indicate what I'm going to get for this job. In this case, I have a price agreement. We save it, and we go back to the financials tab, and you see it's also updated based on my personal crew rate. And now this project was already in the past, so I can register time on it. Let's go there, add activities. But this project actually took me a little bit longer. So I adjust the hours. And save it again. And now if we go back to the project on the financial step, you see the actual cost in the end reflects with the crew rate for the specific crew member and the registered hours, what it actually has costed you. So that's how we, in the end, intended the flow. And if you now want to know what happened, if you look at this financials page, you can go into the crew scheduling tab and open the time registration column set. Here, it will say what was in the end registered on it and what's the registration status. You can also find this back in the activities module with the registration status, but also the difference in time and the difference in cost. You see the total of what you've been grouping on in this place. So I have a group on crew member. You can see per crew member what happened over there. So those are the improvements that we've been making for time registration in the last few months. And we also made a smaller improvement on crew rates, making it possible to archive them. We released crew rates around 2 years ago, and we know that most companies update their rates every year. So we understand that you have many rates in there that you actually don't use anymore. And that's why we now give you the option to archive them. If you do that, it will check if they are used on a future project. If that's the case, you get a pop-up that warns you about it. If you're not using them anymore, it will go to archive, and you cannot choose them anymore when linking a crew rate in a future project. You can also get them back from archived if you made a mistake and you still want to use the specific crew rate. And one of the last improvements that we made on our crew side is the customization of your invitations that you send to your crew members, and also the option to see a preview about this. So we know that a lot of our customers have a lot of personal contact with their crew members because that's basically your job. You want to keep them close to your company and make sure that they want to work for you. And in our previous setup, that was not really easy to do within Rentman because everything was already set for you. It was a very much Rentman-esque email that was sent out if you wanted to invite them. And we know that that's the reason why people did not want to use the invites in Rentman. So that's what we changed. So let's go into Rentman again. If we go to the visual crew planner, and when we select a function, so let's invite someone for this one. You see here in the first pop-up, you have several settings that you can indicate. If you want to set a due date, add a message, add a custom way of greeting someone or ending the email. But you can also customize the email in a more detailed way. Here you see you can indicate what information you want to join with someone. So we know from some customers that they don't like to share the client name, for example, or the location, or that it's super important that people know who the project leader is on a specific project. So that's here in an easy menu. And then we can also go into the defaults for your invitations, in which you go to the configuration page of invitations. And here you can really set all types of default text in the invite, but you can also indicate that you want to share your company logo to make it a more personalized visual message. And in here, you can also see the preview of what you're going to send out. So you always know what your crew members will receive. Well, those were the biggest cool improvements that we wanted to share with you about our crew product. So then I'm going to invite Lode to tell you a bit about the equipment improvements.
Well, hi guys. My name is Lode. I'm one of the product designers here at Rentman. I've been working for 5.5 years now here at Rentman. I think I've spoken to many of you already, probably in my days at support. Yeah, now I'm here with the product designer cap, and I will guide you through the equipment improvements that we've been doing. Before going there, actually, we will once more go to our Slido. I think it's the last question. So quickly scan the QR code on the phone if you haven't done so already. The question is, how many equipment items were created in the last 12 months? I know that a lot of you guys create a lot of equipment, also during import and export and importing again. It's an easy way to create equipment in your database, actually. See 7.85, 5.9 million, 6.5 million. It's pretty even again. Very curious what it will be. Yeah, so the answer is 7.85 million equipment items were generated last year, actually, in the past 12 months. Yeah, that's a huge amount, actually. So let's talk about more equipment, actually. This year we really focus on improving the existing workflows within Rentman. Last year we did this big update with combinations and actual content of these combinations. And this year we really focus on trying to improve the flows and really solving the more advanced inventory challenges that you guys been running into. So yeah, first up, let's imagine you're a warehouse employee and you work at a company with multiple warehouses. So one of your warehouses is in Amsterdam and your main warehouse is in Paris. You live in Amsterdam, so most of the time you also work in a warehouse in Amsterdam, and you're not really too bothered with that warehouse in Paris, actually. As you work in the warehouse, you create a bunch of repairs, but because the Amsterdam warehouse is your secondary warehouse, every time you had to create a new repair, you had to manually adjust the stock location of that repair. A lot of users forgot to manually adjust that stock location from Paris to Amsterdam, which also resulted in shortages or like false availability issues. It's not only with repairs, but also throughout other parts in the Rentman software this happens, actually. For example, when booking out equipment within the app, or even when creating a new project in the projects module. We really want to prevent those kind of mistakes because, yeah, we don't like mistakes and it's kind of unnecessary. So we introduced a default warehouse per crew member. So how does that exactly look like? I will show you in the Rentman interface. I go to the crew members module, and I'm currently logged in as Sarah. So let me quickly look for Sarah. And here in the settings, you see that her default warehouse is set to the Eastern warehouse. How does that look when she creates goes to the maintenance module and creates a repair? She goes to the repair, and the Eastern warehouse is automatically selected. And the same goes, for example, when you create a new project. Then again, the Eastern warehouse is automatically selected. So this is specifically useful for the crew members that are only devoted to one specific warehouse, and it reduces the number of mistakes again. Another improvement that we've been working on is the serial number display changes. We are always looking at Rentman to speed up the processes, definitely when it's concerning the warehouse processes, because we know that their efficiency is very much appreciated. And we're currently actually in the middle of launching an improvement for the warehouse. We know that you guys, during your daily process, you communicate a lot about your equipment, right? You need a CDJ1 or the CDJ5, and that's the way you communicate about your equipment. All the way at the start of Rentman, we used to have a more simplified version of serial numbers, and in a way that you were only able to select the manufacturer serial number as the main identifier. So there was this one field, the manufacturer serial number, and we used that to communicate information about serial numbers within Rentman. Over time, we found out that, of course, yeah, you communicate about this CDJ1 or CDJ5 and not about the ABC 123 589 whatever lengthy serial number. And this resulted basically in two things. One, the packing processes were a bit lengthy because you were always looking for the specific serial number. And two, the communications around serial numbers was a bit unclear. So to address this, we made this change to display the internal reference instead of the serial number, or the manufacturer serial number field, I should say, within Rentman. And that's really to help you identify your equipment better and also improve the generic equipment processes. Let me quickly show you how that looks like within Rentman. I'm here in the warehouse module, for example, and I have my Yamaha mixer. And right here, I see my Yamaha mixer 2. Previously, this was stated with a lengthy manufacturer serial number, and currently we use the internal reference for that. Same goes for the equipment insight step, for example. There we also show the internal reference instead of the manufacturer serial number to align this communication within your company. We gave you guys the opportunity to prepare for this change, actually, by selecting whether you wanted to swap the data within your fields to get the right data in the right field, because we know some people used the workaround for that before. I think the update's coming live in version 4.6.6, and we rolled it out this week. So this update should be live to you anytime soon. And in case you didn't do this update or weren't fully prepared, don't worry. You can also export and import your data. And if you think that's a bit tricky, you can always go to our support team, and they are more than happy to help you with this issue. Lastly, before we go back to Roy again, I'd like to touch upon some combination improvements. Like I told all the way at the beginning already, we've been working last year on this combinations and with their actual content. And throughout the last few months, we got a lot of feedback, which is very good, because then we know also points where we could and should improve. We've got all those improvements and selected the most requested ones, and are currently in the process of developing those improvements. The first one, find your equipment more easily by identifying its combination. Previously, it was kind of difficult to know where your specific lens, for example, resides. So let's say you have 5 or 10 combinations, all with it's here, all with these Sony lenses inside your combination. It could be difficult to determine, okay, is my lens in this combination or in this combination or in another combination? So we improved that in the serial numbers module. Now there is in the sidebar, in the detail sidebar, you can see actually the full structure where your serial number is in. So in this case, my lens is inside my Sony combination, and that is again in a bigger Sony camera combination. We also added the column, so you're able to see all the locations in bulk in the serial number module from there. Besides that, we've heard many requests from the unclarity between the sealed and unsealed status of combinations. So definitely warehouse employees, they said like, okay, for me, it's not clear whether a combination is sealed or unsealed. And to them, it's very important because they seal thousands of combinations. And it's difficult to determine whether something is sealed or unsealed. Again, the improvement there, I will show you in a bit. We made some visual updates in both the actual content tab of a combination as well as the warehouse booking screen. So it's clearer. And the last one, the status label per content item, we heard some feedback that it was not entirely clear what was still left to do for combinations in the warehouse booking screen. And definitely when the combinations consist of a lot of equipment items, it was difficult to know, okay, this one is extra, this one is incomplete, what's left to do. So what we did is while editing the equipment combination in your warehouse booking screen, we also added the labels of incomplete and extra to speed up this packing process and to focus on your main job, which is getting this combination ready to go for a project or nice and neat back in your warehouse shelves. So let me quickly show you in Rentman what that looks like. Actually, all the information is already in my screen. Here is the new seal and unseal button. So whenever a combination is sealed within Rentman, there is a lock icon shown, and when it's unsealed, there is no lock icon shown. So I can press this one to unseal and seal again. And when I edit, you see that I have my incomplete tag here, and I see that my power cable of the CDJ, it was actually booked on the project, but it's not within my combination. So I can now edit to my combination, and it's complete and ready to go. And I can seal it directly from there. Besides these improvements, we've been working on some other stuff, but it's difficult to touch everything right now. But there is a lot more nice things in the pipeline, and definitely in the next few weeks there will be more updates rolling out soon. You can check those actually in the changelog, which is in the new support center in the software itself. I can quickly show you here. Here's a help center, and in what's new, you can go to our changelog, which states all the new improvements that we've been releasing lately. Okay, I think that was it from the equipment side. I'd like to invite Roy back over to talk about what's up for next season.
Cool. Thank you, Lode. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it's good to know that everything that we just discussed is getting launched in one of the next versions. But also we are working on some bigger features that you will see in the course of the next following months. They will present it in the next webinar, but I want to give you a quick sneak peek of what we've been working on. So first, we introduced leave management, and together with our shift feature, we think Rentman will be a complete place where that you use for your rostering. So with leave management, it will be able for a user to select when he's on holiday, it can be approved, and then you have one central place where you can see everything about absences, holidays, and leaves. Next to that, on the crew side, we'll be launching crew documents, and crew documents will be the way to administer and manage your certificates and your contracts. Specifically for the Dutch market, we hear a lot about the new ZZP-regeling. And we will want to make it easier and want to bring all the management around compliance and about contracts also into Rentman. Good to know if you're interested in testing one of these features, please reach out to your CSM, to our support team. For one of the features, we will do a private beta, and let us know if you want to be part of that beta. Next, one of the bigger things that you will see in the upcoming months is purchase orders. Some companies have a workflow where they require purchase orders, for instance, when they do sub-rentals. We're going to move that flow to Rentman, and it will be possible to create a purchase order. If you have a web shop or currently a Shopify integration, or you think about making a web shop, we will provide the native Shopify integration, and with that you get with a few clicks all your equipment in a web shop and use Shopify as a web shop. And lastly, we're going to make the combination feature RFID ready, and we're going to do more enhancement around combinations and RFID. The majority of those features will be presented in the next webinar, but please let us know if you want to be part of it, if you want to have a sneak preview, or you want to be a beta customer, reach out to your CSM or our support team. Okay, good to know we presented a lot. Usually we have quite some questions. please put them in the chat or in the Q&A function of Zoom, and then we'll put them on the screen here and we'll try to answer some of them. So as discussed, Sarah, Lode, and Job, while the baby is not here, please please help us answer the questions.
Cool.
Cool. Now let's get started. Question from Michiel. Crew mail looks good. Is it possible to invite people from multiple jobs at once?
Yes, this is actually possible. If you select someone
you
for
can demo
multiple functions, I can quickly show you in a crew planner. So for example, let me find a spot in the future where not everything is already fully scheduled. Okay, so I'm going to invite Ben for these 3 functions. So he can choose, basically. If I now send an invite, it will send one email to Ben with all the invites in it. And from there, he can choose which one he wants to accept or not. Or in his own Rentman environment, he can also there in my schedule check which ones are open and accept them all or not. So it will send one email to this person. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
So question, how to get involved in beta testing? I think it's good to give some more highlight in how we develop features. So first of all, we have a open feature page on our product roadmap page on our website where people can add feedback. Then in the process, we get a lot of feedback in development, and these are also the customers that we first invite for beta program. So when we go live with a feature, usually we have around 20 customers, and we call it launching customers that help us develop the feature throughout the journey. And for some features, when they're very impactful, after 20 people, we want to make it a bit bigger. And for those features, we have a beta program. We usually work there with people that gave a lot of feedback at other features that are around that feature. But if you want to be part of it, then please reach out to support or your customer success manager, and they can get you enrolled in the program when it's there. Question from Anonymous. Speaking about warehouse in different countries, are you planning to implement ways to send invoices in different currencies and also having different pricing for different markets, warehouses? Lode, is that something that you can answer for?
I think part of your question is actually already possible within Rentman. I can quickly show you in the interface again. I can go to financial and invoices. Let me check. Hopefully there is something in the demo database. I open the invoice here and I can regenerate. Under the advanced settings of the document, there is a currency conversion. And here you can convert it and add an exchange rate as well to your document. So let's say we want to multiply it. You can override it. In this case, it will still show the euro sign here. But in your document template settings, you can change the currency as well. So if you, for example, want to send something to the US, you can create a document template with a dollar sign. To come back to your second part of your question, to also have different pricing for different markets or warehouses. We've heard this feedback before that you want maybe different prices for specific clients that you have or specific customers. It's possible to already have some kind of discount groups for those kind of customers. But to have a specific price list per equipment item for a specific user, for example, or for a specific contact, that's currently not possible. But if it's very important to you, then please reach out to our support team. So yeah, we know of your feedback.
Question from Steve. If the date or time of a project changes, after the crew has already been confirmed, will crew members automatically be notified of the change?
Yeah, so this is not automatically. You have to click on send planning again, but then they will have all changes in that one email.
Yeah, I think it's good to know that's also our philosophy, right? We don't want that every button you click in the software automatically leads to a lot of emails, because it's always in the process of you make a planning, and once you're happy with the planning, you send it out. So we will never actually move to automatic emails because we feel a planning is done after you make some changes.
Indeed.
Question from Joop. if I send an optional crew invite and the crew member accepts, I cannot see that this is an optional booking. My system state that is confirmed, but I want to see that the booking is optional. Is that possible?
So I assume that here you mean that you send an invitation for draft planning. And normally when someone accepts an invite for draft planning, they are scheduled as draft. So you should be able to see it also as draft. I'm not 100% sure if that answers the question, but it's how we work.
And otherwise we can follow up in the chat.
Yeah.
Question from Tom. I can do alternatives for combinations in the warehouse. Why not? I think it's a question for Job.
Yeah, I can answer this one. That's a good question. This is actually one of those things that we are still planning to improve during all those combination improvements that we have lined up. Of course, booking alternatives is a pretty vital flow in the warehouse in the whole booking process, and yeah, we've heard this quite a bit where yeah, you guys also want to book alternatives for combinations and also alternatives for content inside combinations. So those are both things that we are looking into and hope to launch very soon.
Cool. Question from Johan. In the project module, there is a filter called is supplier project and is not supplier project. What do they mean? So I think the bigger question here, what actually is a supplier project? I think I can answer it myself. So when you do internal sub-rents, and please correct me if that's wrong, then basically one of the warehouses supplies equipment for the other warehouses, right? So one is the requester, and one is the supplier. And with this filter, you can filter on that when you do internal sub-rents between warehouses.
Yeah. So when you do an internal sub-rent, there is one actual sub-rent going from the requester to the supplier, and there is a project going from the supplier to the requester. So there's two things that are yeah, playing together here.
Yeah, two warehouses involved.
And there should be two warehouses involved. Yeah.
Cool. Question from Bojan. Is there any change to visually differentiate the project usage period from the planning period in the planner view?
Yeah, currently there is not. It's something that we're looking at, but technically this is quite difficult. So currently there's not really a way to do that in the planner view. You do see it in the details bar of the project if you click there.
Cool. Job, question for you. Status on the rollover function.
Status on the rollover function. Yeah, I have actually been talking to a whole lot of you guys last couple of weeks about this rollover function. So this is specifically when equipment goes from one project directly to another project without returning back to the warehouse. Yeah, in practice, this just happens a lot. You do this to prevent shortages, but also to just make your whole transportation and logistic a bit more efficient. We are currently still investigating this, but we are really deeply investigating it, and we want to provide a good solution for this. Unfortunately, I cannot really share a good design or a proper solution for this yet. But yeah, we are definitely looking into this one.
Cool. Question from Nadia. Sometimes people forget to record their times. Is there a way to automatically send a reminder if someone hasn't logged the time for the activity?
No, we actually have not a way to send them an automatic reminder. We do now make it way better visible if someone doesn't have registered their time because of the new column in which you can see the status. It is quite a cool idea, so it's something we can look into.
And can you use filters for that?
Yeah, you can filter on that column, so you can check that you only see the stuff that is already in the past and doesn't have a time registration, so it lists for you everything without a time registration.
That makes sense if we show how the flow is intended with the filters on that column.
Yeah, I can quickly show how this filter works. So if you go to the activities, here you see everything that is scheduled in terms of functions and shifts. And you can check here in the registration. Oh, let me ungroup on crew member. So on the registration, you can sort on it and you can also group in it. So here you see no registration, these three on the top. Alex and Amy. Alex and Amy need to do their time registration. So you can contact them based on what you see here.
Cool. Question from Christian. Are there any plans to change colors in the slots in the time schedule for better visual display if there are many overlapping slots in big projects?
Not quite sure what you mean with slots, Christian. I know that that color is for many users actually the primary thing to distinguish things in the interface. Of course, it's you look at something and then you know directly, okay, I should look at this or at that. The problem with adding a lot of colors to the interface is as well that for one user this color might mean A, while for another user a color might mean B. So to get like a generic understanding of these colors within the software can sometimes be very difficult. So I'm super curious to hear about this. How do you see this, and maybe leave some comment in as a feedback. Yeah.
Cool. Talking about colors. Will we have a dark mode for the phone app?
Yeah, I remember discussing this the previous webinar as well.
And probably the webinar before.
Yeah, so this is something that we hear quite a bit. Obviously, you guys work in dark environments a lot. So having a phone with a bright screen stare back at you in a dark space obviously isn't the greatest experience. Luckily, on your phone you can lower the brightness quite easily. And yeah, for now we are really choosing to focus more on functionality and improving the functionality of Rentman over the coloring, I would say.
Cool. Job, you talked about the multiple warehouses, and Dominic is wondering, where can you configure multiple warehouses?
Yeah, maybe I can show this. Want to scoot over? I can move this here. So in your equipment module, there is a submodule where there is stock locations. And in here, there's all of your warehouses and maybe some storage locations. Maybe you have some hotels where you have some storage room, or some other storage locations. All of them, they appear right here. You can add a stock location with this button. It's easy. Yeah, you can register them either as warehouse or as storage. Note that warehouses they are paid, so they need to be activated in your license. These storage locations, they are entirely free to create. After creating those, you can go into your equipment module and allocate different equipment to your different stock locations. Once you have that set up, then you can go ahead and create transfer projects, internal sub-rentals, all sorts of things to deal with your, such as here, this is a transfer project, to deal with your multiple warehouse setup. Yeah, do note that in order to have multiple warehouses, they need to be added to your license.
Cool. Question from Luxembourg. RFID support for combinations. One of the things I presented that indeed we are making that possible, or we're doing some iterations on it. Job, can you give us some color about what we are building
sure. There? Yeah, we are looking into a couple of different things. Scanning combinations with RFID is currently, yeah, it's not that it's not working, but definitely can use some brushing up. We are looking into a couple of different improvements right now to really help the most pressing blockers. And in the near future, we're looking into improving the flow as a whole, so that both booking your equipment out of the warehouse is super easy with RFID, but also returning it back into your warehouse is and refilling, double checking your combinations and refilling them is also easy to do.
Question for Sarah: is it possible to send equipment list with a crew request, or send it after they accept it?
Yeah, you can create a document packing list. You can send it to your crew. You can also adjust the crew permissions so they can see the equipment scheduled for the projects that they are scheduled on. Then they can see it in the app, so you know that's always the most up-to-date version of your equipment list.
I think what's good to add here is actually if you add the equipment list to the documents of your project, you can also automatically attach it to one of your attachments with the email and send it from there. So you don't have to look through your documents on your computer itself, but then it's automatically saved in the cloud.
Cool. And once again, if you have questions about this for more detailed flows, We now added the support center, but you can also ask us at support.rentman.io. What is the difference between combinations and accessories? And what do you think is the best way to create labels for equipment?
Yeah, to go into the first question first, the difference between combinations and accessories. I think you should really see combinations as well, usually they are flight cases that contain equipment, maybe some moving heads, some cables, and some clamps, some safeties. Whereas accessories really are items that you really don't want to forget, but aren't necessarily physically connected to another item. So you can use accessories as a sort of a reminder for yourself to plan the right equipment and not forget some gear that you don't really want to miss.
Example is, for instance, speakers, where you can choose between something to hang it or a spool, right? In some occasions you wanted to put it on a pole, and sometimes you want to mount it in a truss. And these cases where you have the option to change that in the quoting process, that's where you use accessory.
Yeah, for sure. You can still use combinations for that as well, where you have two different optional combinations, one with a pole, one with a hanging system. But you could also use, yeah, this is a good example for accessories for sure. Yeah, what do you think is the best way to create labels for equipment? That was the second part of the question. I'm not 100% sure what you're getting at with the best way. Of course, there is document templates in Rentman that you can fully customize yourself. And yeah, by using variables in this document template editor, also you can pretty much put all information that you want onto the label. Maybe you can also check out the support center for some more tips and info on that one.
We've also did some webinars before on document templates as well. So if you struggle with that, then I highly recommend to look at those, and you really see step by step what you have to do to create useful documents.
Yeah, and then lastly, to add to that, we are also working together with Gear Tracking to sell their own printers. And with a printer, we have different label formats to also make sure that you have like professional stickers to actually get those labels on your equipment. And we are happy to show that as well. Cool. Question from Thomas. Is there a way to register the time of someone else, like our freelancer that doesn't use Rentman that much? So first of all, make sure that all your freelancers use Rentman. But having said that.
Secondary option, yes, you can do this. This is a user permission that you just have to turn on for yourself, and then you can register hours for someone else.
Find it in the user permissions.
Yeah.
Cool. Question from Marco. Is it possible to limit the information in the email? I got back from some freelancers that they find it a lot of scrolling through the email if I invite them for multiple projects at the same time.
Yeah, so I just demoed that you can hide specific information in the email. You can check in with our freelancers what the things that I really want to know about the different jobs that you invite them for to limit it. But in general, if you really invite them for multiple things, yeah, they need to know for all of these functions, what's the project, what's the function itself, what's the location. So that's not something that we currently merge in an email.
Clear. Question from David. Can we show the supplier on internal subrent in the scanners? So we can see in the scanner that some equipment is coming from another warehouse.
Yeah, this is definitely a topic that I've heard sometimes before, where you're working in the warehouse, you're packing a project, and yeah, some of the equipment that you're supposed to be packing is coming from another of your warehouses. Currently, it's quite hard to figure that out in the warehouse booking screen, and we are looking into improving this so you can more easily see, hey, this equipment is coming from an external subrent, and this equipment is coming from an internal subrent. So you don't grab the wrong gear, make mistakes, cause shortages in other projects, etc. So we're looking into easing this flow.
Cool. So I think we're wrapping up the QA part of the webinar. Some last questions, some feedback from Maurice, or I think it's actually a feature request, and he would like a feature like a global database of serial numbers, which I could share to my suppliers so they can use my QR codes and RFID tags when subrenting and handling my equipment in their warehouse. Would something like that be possible? Well, Maurice, first of all, I think it's good to know that with your permissions, you can already create logins for your existing suppliers. right? And I think you can configure the way that they can already see that data and that they can log in your system without having any permissions. And I think if you set it up right, your current Rentman can be used for this flow already.
Yeah. You can also make sure that the financial data is hidden in that case. So they only see your serial numbers with QR codes and RFID tags. And then, yeah, that they don't see any information about the purchase price or whatever.
Cool. Question from Olivia. How can I remind a crew member about the invitation that I've sent before?
There are actually several ways in Rentman to do that. I can quickly show you a few of them. So if you go into the visual crew planner and you have some invites that you sent, and then we really mean before, because if you just send them out, you cannot send them a reminder about it. So let's go back a little bit in time. So for example, let me check if I can do it. No, this is too fresh. Oh, here. So you see there is an option in the right-click menu to send a reminder. So from here, you can send a reminder to them, but also from the crew member themselves. So if we go to Brian, and then here you see all the open invitations for this person. And from here, you can also send them a reminder about it. I just clicked on the bell. It says reminder for invitation sent. They will get an email about it and a notification to make sure that they answer the emails. Then it will say, hey, you just sent a reminder, maybe not spam your crew members. So there is a little bit of time that you have to wait before you can send a next reminder.
Cool. Then I think we're going to wrap it up. Last question is from Bas. When is the inventory check available with the mobile app? Job, is that maybe a question you can answer?
Yeah, I can definitely answer. Yeah, the inventory count module is a module that we created back when COVID hit. So you could go into your warehouse, start counting your gear, and make sure that everything is accounted for. In the meantime, we've gotten a whole bunch of requests that this is also available in the mobile app. We currently don't have specific plans in the next year to work on this, but please keep your feedback coming. I see that you also mentioned something about RFID and easier inventory checking with RFID. When we eventually get to this mobile inventory count module, the RFID part is definitely something that we will consider as well.
Cool. Let's wrap it up with that. Thank you all for the questions and thank you for the answers. I hope that you liked it. And I've been asked to remind you about the recording. So I want to end with that. Check out the recording. And if you want to be on the beta list for any of the features, feel free to reach out and hopefully see you next time. Thank you.